Hi everyone, I'm Rhonda and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are brand new. In today's video, I will be giving a tour of my bookshelves. So as I mentioned, I am going to be doing a tour of my bookshelves. I'm going over all the books that I have on these bookshelves, as well as any decor, and just kind of show you how I've set everything up and how I've organized it. I have not organized it in the best way. I'm still messing with it, but you'll get the idea. In my last video, I did my building and organizing my dream home library. If you missed that, definitely go check that out. I had a lot of fun doing that. But I told you in that video that my next video would be a bookshelf tour, and that's what we're doing today. So we're gonna jump right into that because I don't want this video to be too terribly long. Alrighty, here are my bookshelves. These are the Billy bookshelves from IKEA. These are the ones that pretty much every content creator, bookish content creator has, with the exception of mine are the dark wood instead of the white. I do like the way the white bookshelves look. I think they're very pretty and clean and just really nice looking, but I prefer dark wood in my office. I think it's cozier and just warmer and more inviting, so that's why I went with the dark wood. It also matches the rest of my office. So let me show you. As you can see, I have dark wood in my office and it just goes better. But there we go. Over here on the left side, and I'm going to go into depth a little bit more in just a little bit. I just want to show you how I broke them all up. But over here on this shelf, I have all of my fantasy books and my thrillers and mysteries. And then here in the center, I have these two bookshelves which hold all of my physical TBR. These are all the books that I have not read yet. So as you can see, I have a lot of reading to get to, and I'm trying not to buy too many new books just because I have plenty to read. And then here on the right in this tall bookshelf, this is where I keep all of my romances. So that is where those go. And then I have some miscellaneous stuff at the bottom that I'll get to in just a little bit. But these are my bookshelves. And as you can see, I do have a little bit of room for growth over here. Hopefully this is going to work. I'm on my tippy toes actually, because we are starting with the far left tall shelf. And as I said, this is where I keep all of my fantasy, adult fantasy, YA fantasy, all of my mystery, thrillers, and horror books. And starting with this top shelf is a few adult fantasy romances, beginning with Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. And I would say if you're interested in starting adult fantasy romance, but maybe you're a little intimidated or don't know where to begin, I would say to start with Fourth Wing. It's a very easy book to read. It's so good. I gave it 5 stars, and I would recommend it because it does not have a lot of world building. It does not have a lot of politics. Yes, there's some, but it's not overwhelming to where it's intimidating. And the romance in here is really good. So I loved this book. It was so good. Sadly, you have Iron Flame, which comes next. I also have this one up here. And then you have Onyx Storm, which is the book that just came out. All 3 of those are in the Fourth Wing series. It's going to be a 5-book series, and I'm not sure if I'm going to continue it because I did not love Iron Flame and I loved Onyx Storm a little less. So I might just watch the show when it comes out because they are making a show based on the Fourth Wing books, and I might just watch those and be done with it. But Fourth Wing was excellent. I really loved this. Also, when I picked up my pre-order of Onyx Storm from Barnes & Noble, they gave me a little Onyx Storm sticker. I don't know if you can see that. And then a little dragon pin. I thought that was really sweet and cool. So I got little knickknacks to go on my shelf. I'm not quite sure how, well, maybe that'll work like that. So, and then we'll put the pin over here if it'll stay up. Okay, maybe not. And then moving to the center shelf, we have the ACOTAR series by Sarah J. Maas. This is another fantasy romance. It is an adult fantasy romance series that I really did enjoy. I loved A Court of Thorns and Roses. This is the first book. I enjoyed A Court of Mist and Fury. This is the second book. I did not love A Court of Wings and Ruin as much as the other 2, but the second half of the book got really good, and I enjoyed it more once I got towards the end. And then we have A Court of Frost and Starlight. This one was, it was okay. I don't think you really need to read it. It's kind of like a little filler book, and you don't get any new information, so you really don't have to read it. And then the last book that's currently out is A Court of Silver Flames. This was my #1 book of 2024 that I read. Love this book. It's my favorite book of the entire series. This whole series is not complete. There's going to be more books out. We don't know when, but hopefully it'll be out soon. But I also recommend this whole series, the ACOTAR series, if you are new to the adult fantasy romance genre, just because they're easy to read. They do get progressively more in depth as you go along, but it's a good little starter set for you to get started on. All right, now we're moving on to the second shelf of this bookshelf. And again, these are more adult fantasy romance as well as some YA fantasy romance, beginning with The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I love this book. It is more of like a cozier fantasy or a gothic fantasy. The writing is beautiful. It's so lyrical. Highly recommend it. It definitely made my top, I think my top 5 of this last year. I read it last year. And then we have Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. I feel like this was a little overhyped. I gave it 3 stars. It was okay. I just had a problem with the romance and some of the, not really competition, but some of the trials I wish she would have built on a little bit more. And then we have The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young. I love this book. I gave it 4 stars. It's definitely, it has time travel. It's a little bit of a historical fantasy with time travel. Really loved it. It was beautifully written. It did get a little bit confusing at the end, but I still really enjoyed it, and I would recommend you read this. And then the next book is The Ministry of Time by Callie Ann Bradley. I did not enjoy this one. I think I ended up giving it 2 stars. It's really not good. It's very messy. It's a time travel fantasy book, and it was just a mess. I didn't like that one. And then these next 4 books is a vampire fantasy series. It's the Crowns of Nyaxia series, and currently there's 3 books out, but it's going to be a 6-book series made up of duologies. The first book is The Serpent and the Wings of the Night. And again, these are all vampires. It's kind of like Hunger Games, but with vampires. Loved this one, and very similar to Fourth Wing. As the series is going on, I'm enjoying it a little bit less, but this one was excellent. And this is also another good series to try if you're new to the fantasy romance genre. And this is adult fantasy romance too. And then there is a novella called Six Scorched Roses. Loved this book. Don't skip out on the novellas in this series. They are so good. And then the next book in that duology is The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. It was good. I enjoyed it. It's just not as good as that first one. And then the most current book that's out, I believe it came out in November, and that is The Songbird and the Heart of Stone. So these are the 4 books in the Crowns of Nyaxia series. I also recommend the series if you are new to fantasy romance. And if you like vampires, these are all, I love the vampire aspect of these books. And then this next series is the Powerless series. This is a YA fantasy romance, and I think that I would probably enjoy this series a little bit more if I was younger. We have the first book, which is Powerless, and then the most recent book that came out last year was Reckless, and then we have Powerful, which is the novella that goes in between Powerless and Reckless. I really enjoyed this novella, and it's kind of weird that I like the novella in this series as well as in the Crowns of Nyaxia series, because I'm not normally one who is into short stories or novellas. I usually like full-length novels, but this one was really good too. So this is the Powerless series. As I said, it's not my favorite. Not sure if I'm going to continue with the series just because I'm just finding it okay. I think I might just wait and see what other people say about it before I pick it up. Okay, I had to switch to my handheld tripod just to make this go by a little bit quicker. But the next book I have is The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson. This is the first book in the Remnant Chronicles. And I heard that this trilogy is a trilogy that you need to read before you read her Dance of Thieves duology. So that's why I picked that up. But I read this one back in January and I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to continue with that series so I could start the Dance of Thieves series, which I've heard is really good. And then next we have Wayward by Amelia Hart. This is more like a historical fantasy, and you're following 3 generations of witches, and this was really good. I was surprised by it. There are some feminist undertones, some themes regarding feminism and how women were treated or are treated, and I really enjoyed those themes. I thought it was very well done. And then next we have more of a gothic fantasy, and that is A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher. This was my very first T. Kingfisher book, and I also enjoyed that one. And the next is The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. This is more of a cozier, whimsical fantasy, and I'm not sure if I'm going to continue with her books just because I have learned through the course of this year that I don't like a lot of cozy fantasies, especially if it's whimsical. They're a little too slow for me. I need more. And then next is Heartless Hunter by Kristen Cicerelli. This is a YA fantasy romance featuring a witch and a witch hunter, and I love this book so much. It was so good. This is part of a duology, and the second book called What Rebel Witch, which I'll show you in a little bit, just came out, and I haven't read it yet, but I can't wait. Definitely read Heartless Hunter if you are interested in anything revolving around witches and witch hunters. And then these next two books is The Veiled Kingdom and The Hunted Heir by Holly Renee. These are adult romantasy books. They are definitely more romance books set in a fantasy world. There's not a lot of world building. I really enjoyed this one. If you haven't read it, definitely go check it out. But this one was not that great. It was actually pretty bad. But I know she's having another book that's going to come out soon, and I will probably read that one just because I feel like it has a lot of potential. And then also with these two books, Holly Renee is the author, and she is an indie author. So you can find them on Amazon or Kindle Unlimited. The next book is Quicksilver by Callie Hart. Now, this author was an indie author, and this used to be available on Kindle Unlimited. However, actually, it might still be available. I'm not sure. But this book got picked up by a major publisher, and it was released, I think a couple of months ago. And the new book will be out hopefully soon. But my cover looks a little bit different because when you ordered it online on Amazon, when it was an indie book, you could pick which cover you wanted. And the other cover is the one with the man's face on the cover, and I just really didn't like that. I thought it was kind of cringy, and I like this one a little bit better. I thought it was more pretty. So that's why I chose this cover, and this is my indie book. But with this one, it was okay. I think I settled on 3 stars. It was decent. It read quickly. I know a lot of people really, really, really love this book. I just thought it was okay. I felt like the ending, it was too much to where it got to be a little ridiculous. It was one plot twist after another at the very end, and I felt like it could have been kind of dispersed a little bit throughout the book. But that is Quicksilver. And then finally on the shelf is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. This is a YA fantasy romance, and I did not love that one, so we're not going to talk about that. But that's another book a lot of people loved. It didn't hit with me. Okay, moving on to my third shelf, which is where my mysteries and thrillers begin. Starting with my Riley Sager books. In case you don't know, Riley Sager is one of my favorite mystery thriller authors. Some of his books are better than others, but for the most part, I have enjoyed his books. We're going to start with Survive the Night. A lot of people really hated that book, so I went into it with low expectations, and I actually really enjoyed it. And then we have his newest release called Middle of the Night. This is another that a lot of people didn't like it, but I actually thought it was fine. And then we have The Only One Left. I love this book. It's one of my favorites. I wouldn't say it's my number one favorite, but it's really close. Loved it. And then we have The House Across the Lake. This is probably my least favorite. I really did not enjoy this one that much, just because I thought the plot twist was a little silly and goofy. And then going down to my stacked books, we have Final Girls. Love this one. The Last Time I Lied. I enjoy this one too. Home Before Dark. This is actually my very most favorite Riley Sager book. And then we have Lock Every Door. This one was also pretty good. The plot twist was interesting and not what I was expecting. And then we're getting into my Simone St. James books. Simone St. James is another favorite author of mine when it comes to mystery and thrillers. And with her books, she tends to feature some supernatural paranormal themes. So we're going to start with The Haunting of Maddie Clare. This one is definitely kind of like a historical fiction thriller with ghosts. Loved it. And there's also a little bit of a romance that I wasn't expecting. And then the very first book that I read by Simone St. James is The Sundown Motel. I love this book so much. It was so good. It's told in dual timelines, so you're going back and forth because the main character's aunt went missing in the 80s at this motel, and she's trying to find her. And again, there are some ghostly themes in that one, some ghost vibes, and I really enjoyed that. And then we have the book of cold cases. I actually have 2 copies of this. I don't know how that happened, but it did. This one was just okay. I've learned that I do tend to enjoy some of Simone St. James's earlier books because I feel like they're more historical and more atmospheric and less mainstream. So if you're new to her, try reading these 2 and then branch out to some of her other books. And then over here, I have a couple of more Simone St. James books. I have Murder Road. This one is her newest release. I think it came out last spring, and I did enjoy that one. This is the Book of Cold Cases. Again, I have 2 copies of this. I don't know how that happened. And then we have Home is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose. This is her newest release, and it was okay. I think I gave it 3 stars, but what I like most about this was the cover. It's so cool. It has a bloody VHS tape cover, and I just really, really love this. I think Geneva Rose has the coolest covers out of any mystery author I've come across. Her publisher really does a good job and is very creative when it comes to her covers. And the next is Daughter of Mine by Megan Miranda. This is a good little summer thriller. Really enjoyed that one. And then finally, The Last Word by Taylor Adams. This is the first and only Taylor Adams book I read so far. If you want to be stressed out and be on the edge of your seat, then definitely read this one. I pretty much read it in one sitting. It was incredible. I loved it so, so much. It is about a woman who leaves a 1-star review on a place like Amazon, and the author comes after her. Pretty much. Okay, sorry about the weird lighting, but we're getting onto the lower part of the shelves. I'm on the 4th shelf, and this is where I have more of my mystery thrillers, beginning with Every Time I Go on Vacation, Someone Dies. Love this one. It's a good little summer cozy mystery. She has a new book coming out, I think in May, and I have an ebook art copy, and I can't wait to read it. It's very, very funny, very cute, and it's a good little cozy mystery if you're looking for one in the summertime. But it's set in the summertime in Italy, so loved it, so good. And then we have Night Watching by Tracy Sierra. I did not love this book. I'm probably going to unhaul it eventually. There were some parts of the book that were just weird and didn't add anything to the plot, so I didn't know why it was in the book. So I didn't love that one. And then we're getting into some of my Book of the Month books. First off is Kill for Me, Kill for You by Steve Kavanaugh. This is my first Steve Kavanaugh book, and I really enjoyed it. And then we have The Return of Ellie Black by Amiko Jean. Love this one. Cannot recommend it enough. I love this book. If you haven't read it, definitely, please do. There was a plot twist in here that I did not see coming. It was so good. Love this one. Definitely check that one out too. And then we have A Talent for Murder by Peter Swanson. I didn't love this one. This is my second Peter Swanson book that I just really wasn't that into, so I don't know if I'm going to read anything else by him. Next is First Fly Wins by Ashley Elston. A lot of people are reading this at the first of 2024, and I really enjoyed it. It was good. As well as Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera. I did a mix of listening to this on audiobook as well as reading it physically, and I would say definitely check out the audiobook. The book itself is really good, but I felt like the audiobook was very well done just because it was kind of like a full production. And yeah, definitely try that one on audiobook if you haven't already. And then we have Darling Girls by Sally Hepworth. This was my very first Sally Hepworth book. I enjoyed it. It was decent. It's not my favorite, but I liked it enough to definitely try some of her other stuff down the road. And then we have Alice Feeney's newest release, and that is Beautiful Ugly. This came out in January, and that one was a miss for me. I did not enjoy that one. Next is A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham, and this one was okay. This is one of those books that when I was reading it at the end, I was like, yeah, that was decent. I think I gave it 3 stars, but it's one of those books that I will not think about again, and something that I would probably forget what it's about, so it wasn't really memorable. And then we have the last one by Will Dean. This is about a woman who wakes up on the cruise ship and everyone has gone missing. So definitely kind of a nightmare situation. It was good. I think I gave that one 3 stars. And then we have The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I absolutely loved this book. I want to reread it eventually when I'll have time to, when I have a ton of books that I haven't read to get to. I don't know. And then we have In My Dreams, I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. I really enjoyed this one. It's definitely more of a dark academia type thriller, and I loved it. I didn't see the plot twist coming either. Next I have Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Jillian McAllister. It was okay. I can't remember what I rated it. It was either 2.5 or 3 stars. It had a lot of potential, but it's about a woman who on one Halloween night, she's looking out her window and she sees her son murder someone. And he gets arrested and goes to jail. She wakes up the next morning and it is the day before that incident happened. So every day she wakes up, she goes further and further back in time. And again, it had a lot of potential. It just a little bit of overkill. I think that kind of ruined it for me. All right, next I have all of my Frida McFadden books. I have The Housemaid, The Housemaid's Secret, The Housemaid is Watching. This series is good. I really enjoyed The Housemaid. I gave it 4 stars. I gave The Housemaid's Secret 5 stars. I actually enjoyed that one more than The Housemaid. And then The Housemaid is Watching is the 3rd book and hopefully final book in this series, and I did not like it. I would say read these 2 books and that's it. You don't need to read any of the other ones. And then next, if you've watched any of my previous videos, you will know what I think about The Teacher. If you haven't watched any other videos by me, then just know that I did not like that book at all. Then we have The Boyfriend. This one was just okay. I have, I think, 2 or 3 other Frida McFadden books on my Physical TBR that I need to get to. And I want to read, I don't want to buy any more Frida McFadden books. I want to read those 2 next. And if I don't like those, I think I'm going to be done with Frida McFadden, just because, yes, her books are super easy to read. They're bingeable. All of her books, with the exception of the Housemaid series, are just okay. And I want to read books that are more than just okay. All right, next is Finlay Donovan is Killing It by El Casamano. This is kind of like I guess it's kind of like a cozy mystery with some dark comedy. I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was pretty funny, but I like dark humor. That's one of my favorite things when it comes to mysteries or thrillers, is some of that kind of gross and silly dark humor. I love it. And then we have Darcy Coates. I actually really do enjoy her books, but these next 2 that I have physical copies of are not my favorites, so I would say don't start with those. But we have The Haunting of Lee Harker. Darcy Coates, majority of her books are kind of like ghost stories. This one was just okay. I saw the plot twist, or at least the first plot twist, coming from a mile away. It was very predictable. And then we have Ghost Camera, which I thought that this was going to be an entire full-length novel about a ghost camera. I was wrong. It's a book of short stories. I do not like books of short stories, so I really just read the Ghost Camera story, which is about 100 pages long, and then I read the other longer short story, which was also around 100 pages, I think it was called The Box of Lost Tapes. Both of those were really good, and I wish she would have taken those stories and turned it into a full-length novel. I probably would have enjoyed it more. And then we have a science fiction by Blake Crouch called Dark Matter. I really enjoyed it. This reminds me of a movie called Coherence. It came out in 2016. Very similar plot ideas. So if you haven't seen that movie, go read it. The book was also very, very well done. And then we have another horror novel called The September House by Carissa Orlando. I loved this book. There were so many layers with this book, and I ate it up. It was so, so good. Also, a lot of dark comedy, so I appreciated that. And then at the end, the ending was very satisfying. Usually with thrillers or scary books, the ending is a little bit silly and over the top and out there. This one had the perfect ending. So if you haven't read this, go read it. And then I have You'd Look Better as a Ghost by Joanna Wallace. This is also another little, I guess, cozy mystery thriller. This is about a serial killer. I think I gave it 3 stars. It was okay. It had some dark comedy, but it just really didn't hit where I was hoping it to. And then next we have The Maid by Nita Prost. I love this book, gave it 4 stars. The main female character is neurodivergent, and I really love neurodivergent main characters. I don't know why. I don't know if they're more endearing or what it is about them that has me rooting for them, but for the most part, every book that I've read that had a neurodivergent main character, I really enjoyed. And then we have a couple of YA mystery thrillers. First, we have The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Loved it. I thought the plot twist or the big reveal was a little far-fetched, but it's a YA mystery, so I went with it. But I do want to continue with the series. I have the second book and I need to read it. And then next we have That's Not My Name by Megan Lally. This is another YA thriller. I love this. It was so good. I think I gave it 4 stars. I read it last month, and the plot twist in this book I didn't see coming, so definitely go check that one out. All right, now we're on to my 5th shelf, and these are just a few little miscellaneous books. We have Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. This is a YA fantasy. Did not love it. Before She Knew Him by Peter Swanson. This is another Peter Swanson book that I just really didn't enjoy, so I'm not sure if I'm going to read anything else by him. Then we have A Most Agreeable Murder by Julia Seals. This is kind of like a Regency era type mystery. I don't remember anything about the plot. There you go. And then we have A Grim Reaper's Guide to Catching a Killer by Maxie Dare. This is kind of like a cozy mystery featuring a modern take on the Grim Reaper idea. And I enjoyed it. And this is going to be part of a series, so I would probably pick up the next book and give it a chance. And then moving on to this very last shelf, I'm not going to show you the books just because they're just cookbooks, and then they're also I have 2 daughters. I have their yearbooks on this shelf, and I don't want to show you their school names. Hopefully you can't see it, but that's what's on those last shelves. Okay, so we are moving on to my other tall bookshelf. This is the bookshelf that holds all of my romances. I also have some seasonal reads as well as some historical fiction and women's fiction. But we're going to start with the top shelf, and this is my Bridgerton shelf. This is where I have all 4 of my special edition Bridgerton books, and each one of these books has 2 books in them. But we're going to start with volume 1, and it has beautiful hot pink sprayed edges. Inside of this, there's no extra little end pages. They have just these little hot pink ones, but there's no extra artwork or anything inside. It does have a little ribbon bookmark, so I do love that. But this book has The Duke and I, as well as The Viscount Who Loved Me. I think that's how you say it, The Viscount Who Loved Me. So volume 1 has 2 books in it. And really with this whole series, I love the Bridgertons. I haven't watched the show yet though, but I read these books when they were first coming out many years ago, and this is a series that I do like to reread every 2 or 3 years. I'm actually due to reread this series this year, but I don't know if I'll get to it this year, maybe next year. But these are really good books. If you haven't read the Bridgerton series, I do recommend it. They are historical romances, but they're so good. And then the second volume has An Offer from a Gentleman and Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, and this has kind of like it's not really a hot pink cover, it's kind of like a coral pink with these really pretty green edges. Love these vibrant colors. And then the third volume is It's in His Kiss and On the Way to the Wedding. It has it's kind of like a yellowy orangey cover, or a gold if you will, with blue sprayed edges. And then finally we have the last volume, and it has To Sir Philip with Love. Love that book. And When He Was Wicked. It has kind of like a cyan cover with yellow sprayed edges. So now we're moving on to the second shelf of this bookshelf, and we're going to start over here with The Rom-Commers by Catherine Sinner. This is her newest release, and I really enjoy this book. This is a special edition with the sprayed edges. It has these pretty little, I guess they're palm leaves, I'm not sure. And then it's also signed by the author, Miss Catherine Sinner herself. I got this in Galveston at a new bookstore I think it's called Then and Now, and it's over by the Strand. And I saw on Instagram that she was going to be there around the same time I was, and she went by and signed all of her books. So I immediately grabbed my oldest daughter and said, we're going there. I want to get a signed Catherine Sinner book. And this is the one that I found, and I really enjoyed it. It's her newest one. Some people didn't like, I think his name is Charlie, is the main male character. They didn't like him. They thought he was a little too grumpy, but he has a reason. I love it. I love this book. And then moving on to my next Catherine Sinner book is Hello Stranger. I really enjoyed this one too. The female main character, she gets facial blindness. Like she can't see people. I mean, she can see faces, but it's kind of like a blur, or pieces are out. I don't know, but she doesn't see people's faces the way you and I do. And she's a portrait artist, so it makes her job a little more difficult. By the way, these 2 books are rom-coms, and I really enjoyed both of them. And then my last Catherine Sinner books are The Bodyguard. Love this one. We also have Get Lucky. This has to do with a woman who becomes a surrogate for her sister. It's definitely more of a women's fiction than a rom-com. And then finally we have Happiness for Beginners. This was cute too. Catherine Sinner has become one of my favorite authors, and I will read anything she writes. But I do have an arc. So Catherine Sinner does have a new book coming out, I want to say in May. I can't remember the name of it. But I do have an ebook art copy of it, and I can't wait to read it, but I'm kind of trying to hold off until it gets a little closer to publication date, just so when I read it and give you guys my review, you don't have to wait months in order to pick it up. You can just go get it. But love Catherine Sinner. And then moving on to Emily Henry, I've read pretty much everything that she's written except for one book, and we'll get to that one in a little bit. But her newest release right now is Funny Story. I really enjoy this. I love this because the main male character is actually just a real guy. He's not a hockey player. He's not a billionaire. He works at a wine bar. No, he works at a winery at the little tasting bar thing. And he's just a normal guy. And I thought their story was really cute. I loved it. And then I have People We Meet on Vacation. I've heard they're making this into a movie. Cannot wait. Love this one. And then we have Book Lovers. So these are the ones that I have copies of that I really enjoyed. Now you may notice that I don't have Beach Read on here. I did read that one, but I didn't love that one, sadly. I think I gave it like 2 stars, so that's why it's not on the shelf. I didn't like it, so I didn't buy it. All right, I need to actually speed this up. This video is getting very, very long. But we're moving on to my next shelf. This is the 3rd shelf in my bookcase, and we're getting into some of my cowboy romances, beginning with the Rebel Blue series. We have Done and Dusted, Swift and Saddled, and Lost and Lassoed. Lost and Lassoed is actually my very favorite. Now over here we have the Elsie Silver books that I own. These first 5 are the Chestnut Springs series, which of course are cowboy romances. And then up here on the top, Wild Love is actually a single dad series. It's the Rose Hill series that I really love that. Now all of these books are incredibly spicy, actually too spicy for me. So if you love that, you would probably love these books. But if you don't love spice, I would say still give it a chance, just because the romance in these books are actually really, really good. I mainly just kind of skimmed over, if not skipped, some of the spicy scenes. And then next to that, we have my Abby Jimenez books. First, we have the Friend Zone, and then we have the Happy Ever After playlist, as well as Life's Too Short. I actually enjoyed the Friend Zone. A lot of people didn't like that one, and I can see why, but I actually love this one more than the other 2. Next, you move into the Part of Your World series, which is made up of 3 books. You have Part of Your World, you have Yours Truly, and then you have Just for the Summer. I loved this series so much. Just for the Summer was one of my favorites of this last year. It was so emotional, and I would say you absolutely need to read Part of Your World and then Yours Truly before you get into Just for the Summer. These are interconnected books, yes, but they're not. They could be standalones, but in order for Just for the Summer to hit the way it's supposed to, you really need to read these other 2 books. And then next we have my Annabelle Monaghan books. We have Nora Goes Off Script, Same Time Next Summer, and then my favorite summer romance. Annabelle Monaghan is a really good closed-door romance author. If you like closed-door romances, definitely check her out, as well as Sarah Adams. I have a ton of books by Sarah Adams. I have The Enemy, I have The Match, Temporary Roomie, Off Limits, The Cheat Sheet, Rule Book, When in Rome, and Practice Makes Perfect. These 2 books are part of a series. These 2 books are part of a series. These 2 books are part of just like a sports series. And then these 2 books are part of the When in Rome series. I loved the When in Rome series the most. There is a 3rd book that came out this past month that I did read. I'll get to that one in a little bit. I just really loved this little When in Rome series. All of these are good in their own way. If you can only pick one series, I would say pick the When in Rome series. And then next we have Carly Fortune. We have The Summer Will Be Different, and then Every Summer After. I do like Carly Fortune, but her books are kind of forgettable. I don't really remember what these two books were about, what who was in it, what the plot was. I don't remember. So it's hard for me to recommend them. And then we have Love Light Farms by B.K. Borison. This is the first book in the Love Light Farms series, and it's kind of a seasonal read because it's set on a Christmas tree farm, and I really enjoyed it, and I do want to continue with that series. All right, next up I have some Colleen Hoover books. I have It Ends With Us, It Starts With Us, and November 9. I really enjoyed all three of those. I have The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood and Love on the Brain. I like the Love Hypothesis more than Love on the Brain. I DNF Love on the Brain. I could not get into that one. And then I have The Magic of Lemon Drop Pie. I loved this book so much. It has magical realism. It was super cute. And then these next two are Christina Lauren books. I have The Honeymooners, loved it. Love in Other Words, loved it. So these two books I would recommend. And then I have The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. This is my favorite Ashley Poston book that she has put out. I also have The Dead Romantics. That was good. I think I gave it 3 stars. And the same for A Novel Love Story. I gave both of those 3 stars. They were good, but I feel like they could have been better. And the next is Summer Fridays by Suzanne Rendell. I really love this one too. All right, next are a few Lucy Score books. I have By a Thread. Did not love it. Next is Dead Guy Next Door. This is book 1 as part of a little rom-com series she has out. I really enjoyed this one, and I do want to continue with the series. I think I have the second book in this series. And then there's No More Secrets, which is kind of like a small town little romance. It was okay. I like Dead Guy Next Door more out of all 3 of those. And then we have some Tessa Bailey books. I'm not a Tessa Bailey person, I don't think. I have Fangirl Down. I think when I read it, I enjoyed it just because I thought it was funny, but it was too spicy, and the dirty talk in here is so bad. So I don't know if I'm going to be reading any more Tessa Bailey books. And then It Happened One Summer. I enjoyed that one. And then Hook, Line, and Sinker is the second book, and that's kind of interconnected with It Happened One Summer. And I think with Tessa Bailey, I don't think I'm going to buy any more of her books. She's just too spicy. But more than that, her dirty talk, she does a lot of dirty talk in her books, and it's just kind of cringy. It makes me just, ugh. Next up is Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. This is a very much loved book. It's hyped up by people in the book community, and I thought it was okay. And then we have Kate Robb's Primetime Romance. Really enjoyed that one. That was a cute little romance. And then we have The Art of Catching Feelings by Alicia Thompson. This is a baseball romance that I really did enjoy. I thought it was super cute. I couldn't put it down. I also loved The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. This is a workplace romance that I loved. I loved the banter in that one. Next is Nice Work, Nor November. This is more of a women's fiction. And then we have The Float Plan by Trish Dollar. This is a summer romance, but it's not a lighthearted read. It will definitely make you cry. It has to deal with grief. And then speaking of grief, I have The Last Letter by Rebecca Yarros. This was so good, but the ending of this book really hurt me in my heart. I also have a couple of books by Sophie Cousins, This Time Next Year, and then Is She Really Going Out With Him? I liked Is She Going Out With Him a lot more than This Time Next Year. So if you're going to pick one, I would say read this one, and then also check out The Good Part by her. I loaned that copy out to a friend of mine, so I don't have it with me, but that was another really good one. And then I have The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. This is book 1 in the 3-book series about, I think it's called Dreamland. It's basically Disneyland, and it was okay. And then I have Kiss My Cupcake by Helena Hunting. I love this one. This was Hate to Love or Enemies to Lovers. It was really cute. And then I also have Hate Mail by Donna Marchetti. I don't hear anyone talking about this book. Actually, let me take it out. I haven't heard anyone talk about this book, and I really enjoyed it. There's email writing. These two characters are pen pals, and they started writing to each other when they were in elementary school. And they lived in different states. So it was set up by the school, this little pen pal program, and they've been writing to each other since they were kids. And they have never met until maybe now. It was super cute. Love the little emails. Definitely check this one out if you haven't already. Okay, I am actually wedged in between my desk and this bookshelf. Hopefully I can finish up these last 2 shelves, because when I was doing this the shelf that I just did, I was literally holding my camera like this, trying to show you the books. But hopefully you can see this. Let me turn the camera this way. But, okay, you can't see this one. I have The Favorites by Lane Fargo. This is kind of like it's kind of like a sports romance, but it's not. It's kind of like a women's fiction, but it's not. This book is just full of drama, and it's actually kind of popular right now. It's getting a lot of buzz with good reason. This was my first was it my first? Yeah, I think this was my first 5-star book of the year. Loved it so much. Very theatrical. So much drama. Read it, read it, read it. It's so good. And then I have The Wedding People. I have Love of My Afterlife. This was really sweet. 1-star romance. I know I don't hear a lot of people talking about this, but I thought this was really good too. And then I have so I forgot to tell you, The Wedding People is kind of like a contemporary fiction. The Love of My Afterlife is a romance. 1-star romance is a romance. And then I have The Spectacular by Fiona Davis. This is a historical fiction with a mystery. I really enjoyed this. It has to do with the main character who is trying out for the Rockettes in New York City. So that was interesting. I read that around Christmas time, which was perfect. And then I have Rebecca Serrell's Expiration Dates. Really love this one. And then I have The Do-Over by Sharon M. Peterson. This was cute. I think I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't groundbreaking, but if you're looking for a filler book to read around the new year, that is a good one. And then I read In 5 Years by Rebecca Serrell. This was so good. I gave it 4 stars. It definitely made me ugly cry. And then I read the first book in the Sparrow Falls series called Fragile Sanctuary by Catherine Cowles. This is a romantic suspense, and I love the little sprayed edges. Loved it. I do have the second book that I need to get to at some point. And then I have a couple of DNFs from last month. I have This Time Tomorrow. This is a time travel fiction book. If you read it, let me know if I need to give it another try. I just couldn't get into it. And then a big disappointment is a historical fiction called The Only Woman in the Room by Marie Benedict. This is about Hedy Lamarr, who was a real person who created something called frequency hopping, which is something we used in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth today. And I really wanted to love this one. Didn't get there for me. I also have another historical fiction, The Nightingale. You guys probably have heard about this. It's so good. And then I have the first 2 books of the Boys of Tommen series. I have Finding 13 as well as Keeping 13. This was excellent. The writing is okay. It's pretty basic, but it is a good character-driven book where you're just following these kids as they're going through their everyday life, and I found it fascinating and heartbreaking. So now these last books on the shelf are books that I did not enjoy. The first one being The Second Chance Year by Melissa Weisner. It's about a woman who gets to relive a crappy previous year, and she gets to try and redo some things to make it better. Was not good. The X-Talk, I DNF'd, couldn't get into that one. Really did not like The Roughest Draft by Austin Siegmund Broca and Emily Wimberly, I don't know. Didn't love it. Same thing with The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary. Did not love this one. I did not love Love in the Time of Serial Killers by Alicia Thompson. This is the same author who wrote The Art of Catching Feelings. Love this one. Did not love this one, so give this one a chance. And then around Halloween this past year, I wanted to try and read some little spooky romances. So I picked up Wolf Gone Wild. Did not love it. It was pretty bad. I also did not love Savor It by Tara DeWitt. One Italian Summer by Rebecca Serrell was not for me, sadly. I did not love An Enchanting Case of Spirits. I actually don't even remember what this one is about. And then I have Ready or Not by Cara Bastone. Did not love this one. I am an outlier. A lot of people do really love this, and this is on a lot of recommendation book lists. Was not for me. I did not love the female main character at all. I thought she was terrible. I did love Shep. I thought he was adorable and cute. I couldn't get past her. I thought Shep could do better, so I did not love Ready or Not. All right, now we're getting into the hard part. We're on the last shelf of this very tall bookshelf. This is where I have all of my seasonal reads. The majority of these are holiday romances, and the first one is The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year by Allie Carter. I gave this 3 stars. I thought it was cute. And then I have a couple of little cozy small town fall romances. I have Can't Help Falling by Courtney Walsh, And then I have The Fallback Plan by Melanie Jacobson. These are part of the Sweater Weather series, and I thought they were really cute. If you like closed door, clean romances, if you're looking for a better cozy fall romance series that's better than the Pumpkin Spice Cafe series, I would definitely give those a chance. And then also by Courtney Walsh is her newest Christmas book. This is Christmas with a Crank. Loved it. But I really loved her Across Country Christmas the most. This one made me cry. Both of these are, again, Courtney Walsh just writes clean romances, and she does a really good job. I enjoy them. And then I have The Plight Before Christmas by Kate Stewart. This was probably my favorite Christmas book that I read this past year. It was so funny. If you're looking for just something where you're going to be dying laughing, definitely try that one. And then I have In a Holidays by Christina Lauren. That was cute. Faking Christmas by Carrie Winfrey. I enjoyed that one too. The Mistletoe Motive by Chloe Leese. The main female character in this one is neurodivergent, and it is a workplace romance that's set in a bookstore. It was super cute. Really enjoyed it. Love Holly by Emily Stone. That was good. And then I have Holiday Romance by Catherine Walsh, not to be confused with Courtney Walsh. This was another good one. And then another little fall cozy romance, small town romance, is Coming Home to Stars Fall by Kate Hewitt. This is going to be part of a series. I gave this one 3 stars. I thought it was good. A lot of these little cozy fall romances that are set in small towns, or some of these holiday romances, are going to be 3 stars for me just because they're not groundbreaking. They're just sweet, good, and just they're fun to read. Okay, I had to pull this little basket out, but I have this basket on that bottom shelf. But these are 4 little holiday romances that I did not get to this past year that I hope to read this coming Christmas this year. But we have The 12 Dates of Christmas by Jenny Bayliss. I also have A Season for Second Chances, also by Jenny Bayliss. Always in December by Emily Stone, and One Day in December by Josie Silver. So if you've read any of these, let me know what you thought about them. And then the last part of this bottom shelf are just little books that I'm not going to talk about. They're Winnie the Pooh books, and then I have a Wildflowers of America. It's just a book of all the flowers that grow in the wild here in America, as the name says. But that's it of that shelf. Okay, so I just realized that I had manual focus on, and if that last part of the video was incredibly blurry, I am so sorry. And I didn't notice because I'm not wearing my glasses and everything looks blurry to me. So I'm sorry. Hopefully it came out fine. We're going on to my 2 middle shelves, and these are the shelves that have my physical TBR. These are all the books that I have not read yet. And I'm going to show you this top shelf real quick. Let me see if I can do that. Okay. So right off the bat, I have Pleplius. He is a little monkey that my husband and I used to bring along with us when we went out and about in Houston, or if we traveled, he would join us and we would take pictures with him. This was obviously before we had kids, and he has since been retired, and his home is now on this little shelf. I have a little vase of flowers that my daughter made for me at Girl Scouts, and then this cute little, let me see if I can get it without breaking it, but I don't know if you can see this, but my oldest daughter, Ruby, bought this for me for Christmas a couple of years ago, and I thought it was really sweet. So that lives here on this top shelf too. And then these books here are the books I'm trying to get to in February. Obviously, I'm not going to read all of these, but this is my TBR for February. First is A Sea of Unspoken Things by Adrienne Young. I also have One by One by Ruth Ware. How to Solve Your Own Murder by Kristen Perrin. P.S. I Hate You by Lauren Donnelly. And then I have Rebel Witch by Kristen Cicerelli. This is the second book in the Heartless Hunter series that I talked about. I also have The Assassin's Blade, which is the prequel in the Throne of Glass series. And then I have Beartown by Frederick Bachman. This was on my TBR in January, and I never got to it. So I'm trying to get to it in February. I don't know if it's going to happen. And then I borrowed The Pickup by Nora Dahlia. So hopefully I can get to that one. And then I have the second book in the Sparrow Falls series called Delicate Escape. This is by Catherine Cowles. And then I have B.K. Borison's newest release called First Time Caller. Can't wait to read that one. So these two bookshelves, as I mentioned, are the bookshelves that hold my physical TBR. As you can see, I have a lot, so I'm just going to kind of rapid fire go through them because one, I don't remember what they're about, and two, I haven't read them, so I can't tell you if I like them or not, but I can give you like the genre. Here on the left are more of my horror or scary books. I have Incidents Around the House by Josh Malerman. I have a few Grady Hendrix books. The first one is The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, My Best Friend's Exorcism, and The Final Girl Support Group. So a couple of years ago, I read How to Sell a Haunted House by the same author, and I really enjoyed it. So I have these other 3 books to get to. And then I have some Darcy, actually a lot of Darcy Coates books. I have Hunted Gallows Hill, Where He Can't Find You, which I think is a YA horror. And then I have The Fullcroft Ghost, I think that's YA, and The Haunting of Blackwood House. And then I have The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley, The Locked Door by Frida McFadden, Ward D by Frida McFadden, My Lovely Wife by Samantha Downing, Bellwether by Susanna Kersley. I have Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney and Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney. Next are a couple of Colleen Hoover books. I have Verity and Layla. I also have Everybody Knows by Jordan Harper. I think this was a Barnes & Noble book club pick and I got talked into buying it, which is what usually happens. And then I have a couple of B.A. Paris books. I have The Therapist and Behind Closed Doors. I like B.A. Paris. I think she does, I think she writes really good little thrillers and they have good plot twists. And then I have The Nothing Man by Catherine Ryan Howard. I've heard this was really good. I cannot wait to read that. What Lies in the Woods by Kate Alice Marshall. Strange Sally Diamond by Liz Nugent. The Guest List by Lucy Foley. The It Girl by Ruth Ware. And then I have The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. This is a special edition. Love, love, love that special edition. It's so creepy looking. So moving on to the second shelf, these are mostly just mysteries or cozy mysteries or YA mysteries or YA fantasy. First, I have 2 books by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I have The Inheritance Games, which is the first book of, I guess, her newest series. And then I have the second book in the Natural series called Killer Instinct. Both of those are YA mysteries. And then I have some cozy little fantasy books. I think these are adult. I have the Unfortunate Side Effects of Heartbreak and Magic, A Very Secret Society of Regular Witches. Next, I have Angelica Frankenstein Makes Her Match by Sally Thorne. She also wrote The Hating Game, which is why I got that. The Third Wife of Faraday House by B.R. Myers. I think that is just like an adult Regency mystery. And then I have Murder in Masquerade by Mary Winters. I think this is another little cozy mystery set in the Regency times. And then I have Killer of a Certain Age by Deanna Rayborn. I think this is part of a series, and the new book in this series is coming out, I want to say this month or next month. I'm not sure. Next is The Thursday Murder Club. This is book 1 in a cozy mystery series. Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone by Benjamin Stevenson. I have the second book in the mystery guest series by Nita Prose. We have The Day Shelley Woodhouse Woke Up by Laura Pearson. And then we have 2 little mass market cozy mysteries that I never got to this past fall. The first one is Peril in Paperback by Kate Carlisle and Whiskers and Lies by Sophie Kelly. Another book that I got talked into buying from Barnes & Noble employees is This Will Be Fun by E.B. Asher. And then these next 2 books are adult romanticities, A Rivalry of Hearts by Tassonia Odette. This is book 1 in the Fae Things and Corset Strings series. And then the second book is My Feral Romance. Next, I have Caraval by Stephanie Garber. This is the first book in a YA fantasy romance series. And then I also have Once Upon a Broken Heart by the same author. That is book 1 in another series that she wrote. And then I have the first book in the Cruel Prince series by Holly Black. This is a YA fantasy romance. Also a YA fantasy romance is Belladonna by Adeline Grace and Lightlark by Alex Asher. And then I have Heart of Betrayal. This is the second book in the Remnant Chronicles by Mary E. Pearson. Again, this is the series that I heard you need to read before you read the Dance of Thieves series. But this is book 2, and then the final book in that trilogy is The Beauty of Darkness. And then I have Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. And then I have the Dance of Thieves duology by Mary E. Pearson. I have Dance of Thieves and Vow of Thieves. All right, moving on to this last row. These are all fantasy romances. The majority of these are adult fantasy romances. However, I do have some YA fantasy romances here at the end. But let's start with Fear the Flames by Olivia Rose Darling. I have Throne of the Fallen by Carrie Maniscalco, Heavenbreaker by Sarah Wolfe, Hurricane Wars by Thea, I don't know who wrote this, Thea Guasson, I don't know how to say it, I'm sorry. I also have Spark of the Everflames by Penn Cole. I've heard that series is really, really good. I also have the Book of Azrael by Amber V. Nicole. I also got Metal Slinger. That is the current popular fantasy romance right now, and that one is by Rachel Schneider. I've heard great things about this entire series, but I have Blood and Steel. This is the first book in the Legends of Thesmar. This is by Helen Schuer, I think that's how you say it. And then I have One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. This is part of a duology. I also have Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. I've heard this is really good, and it's also a series that's on AMC, I believe. And then I have the first book in the Throne of Glass series called Throne of Glass. I'm hoping to read this entire series this year. Next is Masters of Death by Olivia Blake. And then next I have Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This actually takes the trophy for my oldest book on my TBR. I've had this for so many years and I have not read it yet. Next is A Court This Lovely and Cruel by Stacia Stark. This is the first book in the Kingdom of Lies series. And then I also have Dawn of Onyx by Kate Golden. This is the first book in the series. Bewitched by Laura Thalassa. I'm not sure. That's also a first book. So all of those are adult fantasy romance. Now, these last few books are part of a series, and these are YA fantasy romance, and it is books 1 through 5 in the Shatter Me series. I have Shatter Me, Unravel Me, Ignite Me, Restore Me, and Defy Me. And these are by Tahira Mafi, I think that's how you pronounce it. And I've heard this whole series is so good. So these are all the books on this bookshelf, and we're going to move on to this bookshelf. All right, we are almost there. We are at my last bookshelf, and this is where I have everything else. These are all of my romances. These are some of my women's fiction, historical fiction, just everything else. And we're going to start over here. I have Adelaide by Genevieve Wheeler. I also have Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. I actually did a softie enough on this, not because I didn't love it, but I was reading The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and I really wanted to focus on that and get that one finished up. So I put this on hold to pick up later, and I never picked it back up. But what I read so far of it was really good. I also have The Lost Story by Meg Schaefer. I have Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. The Stolen Queen by Fiona Davis. This is her newest release. Definitely Maybe Now by Ava Robinson. Pictures of You by Emma Gray. The Last Love Note by Emma Gray. Variation by Rebecca Yarros. The Things We Leave Unfinished by Rebecca Yarros. How to Walk Away. Things You Save in a Fire. What You Wish For. All three of those are by Catherine Sinner. And I think these are more women's fiction. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then I have Just Haven't Met You Yet by Sophie Cousins. The Seaside Sisters by Pamela Kelly. Georgie All Along by Kate Claiborne. The Storied Life of A.J. Fickery by Gabrielle Zevin. And then I have The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Maybe in Another Life. Malibu Rising. All of these are by Taylor Jenkins Reid, who I haven't read anything by her, and I really want to hop on that train, so hopefully I can get to those soon. Normal People by Sally Rooney, The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer, Hello Beautiful by Ann Napolitano, 5 Years From Now by Paige Toon, The Rose Code by Kate Quinn, The Alice Network by Kate Quinn. These two are historical fiction. And then I have 2 more Marie Benedict books that I'm kind of hesitating to read just because I really did not like the writing style of The Only Woman in the Room, but I have Carnegie's Maid and The Personal Librarian. Okay, so all of those on that first shelf are women's fiction and some historical fiction. I know Variation is actually a romance, and The Things We Leave Unfinished. So there's some romance in there, but most of those are women's fiction. All right, moving on down to this second shelf. These are definitely all romances. I have Troubles in Paradise by Ellen Hilderbrand, Happy Place by Emily Henry. This is the only Emily Henry book I haven't read yet. And then I have Lonely for You Only by Monica Murphy, The Happy Life of Isadora Bentley, See You Yesterday by Rachel Lynn Solomon. I think this is a YA romance. Also a YA romance is The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walter, Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood, The Hotel Nantucket by Ellen Hilderbrand, Not Like the Movies by Carrie Winfrey. And then I have a couple of Christina Lauren books. I have The Soulmate Equation and Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating. And then these next 2 books are by Trish Dollar. This is part of a series. The first book was The Float Plan that I was talking about earlier, but we have The Sweet Spot and Off the Map. I think these follow the sisters of the main female character in that first book. Next is Emma of 83rd Street by Audrey Belisa and Emily Harding. The Love Interest by Claire Gilmore. You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hogel. The Most Likely Club by Elisa Friedland. The X-Files by Jessica Joyce. 99% Mine by Sally Thorne. And then I have the next 3 books in the Love Light Farm series. I have In the Weeds, Mixed Signals, and Business Casual. And then these 2 books are more Lucy Score books. This is the second book in the Dead Guy Next Door series. This is The Corpse in the Closet. And then I also picked up, I kept hearing things about the things we never got over in this whole series. So I went ahead and grabbed this one a while back. But I have Things We Never Got Over, and I'm dreading reading this because would you look at how chunky that is? It's so big for a romance. I will get to it eventually. When, I don't know. And then I have The Love Wager by Lynn Painter, Happily Never After by Lynn Painter, and then I have the second book in the Finlay Donovan series, and that is Finlay Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead by El Casamano. And then finally, this last little bottom shelf are kind of like a miscellaneous. I have the rest of the Tom and Boy series. I have Saving 6, Redeeming 6, and Taming 7. Those are YA sports romances, but the subject matter is actually more adult. And then I have Bridesmaid for Hire by Megan Quinn. And then these next books are kind of more just fallish books, and I just threw them down here. But I have The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. And then I have books 2 and 3 of the Dreamland Billionaire series. This is Terms and Conditions and then The Final Offer. I don't know if I'm going to get to those. These might be books that I unhaul. I'm just really was not loving this series, and I've tried reading another Lauren Asher book and I just really can't get into them, so we'll see. But for now, they're down in this bottom shelf. And then I have Unfortunately Yours by Tessa Bailey, Funny Feelings by Tara DeWitt, The Wall of Winnipeg by Mariana Zapata, You Again by Kate Goldbeck, and then I have Fall Into Temptation by Lucy Score. This is the second book in a small town romance series. The first one was No More Secrets. I read that one earlier in this past year, and it was okay, but I did go ahead and get the second one, and that's what that one is. I also have With Love from Cold War by Alicia Thompson. I haven't heard a ton about that, but she's the same author who wrote The Art of Catching Feelings and then Love in the Time of Serial Killers. And then I have Magnolia Parks. This is the first book in that entire series by Jess Hastings. I wasn't going to get this, but I keep hearing people talking about it, and I am intrigued enough that I went ahead and got it. And then these next 3 little books are little historical romances that I actually bought from Dollar Tree for like $1.25, so I picked them up. I have The Duchess Hunt by Lorraine Heath, I'm Only Wicked with You by Julianne Long, and Duke Gone Rogue by Christy Carlisle. So I used to read a lot of historical romances a while back, but I haven't been reading them as much lately. However, at $1.25, I could not pass up buying these books, and I will get to them one day. The last 3 books I have is The London Seance Society by Sarah Penner and The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. And then I also have The Holiday Swap by Maggie Knox. This is a little holiday romance that I wanted to read this last year that I never got to. And yeah, but these are all the books on this last shelf. All right, my friends, those are all the books on all of my bookshelves. Those are all the books I've read, as well as all the books on my physical TBR. I hope you enjoyed this video. My throat is actually hurting, and I'm a little bit hoarse from the talking and going over all those books. But again, I hope you really enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that little bell notification so that you don't miss future bookish videos. Thank you all so much for watching. And if you're still with me, please let me know if you've read any of these books, especially the ones on my physical TBR, so that I know which ones I probably need to try and target sooner rather than later. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.